Yeah, Boswell Bell, Volume 5, Mixed Emotions in Society. Let's get it, let's get it, yeah. Never been the one to say shit. I never been the type of guy to get right up in your face quick, but I've been the type to make shift. Just switching my perspective to understand what you're faced with. So stressed out and so ticked off. Is your mom's on drugs? Did you know your pops? Do you struggle with addiction and hide from the public cause your life has kept you distant? Even worse, do you have a home? Can you get a stable job? You don't own a phone. About 2 pairs of pants, 3 shirts you own, and they're all so dirty and you froze to bones. But damn, guess you can't even dry off. Not a store rolling around once you in their shop. Cause when you come round, they say the smell is off, and all the shit been going missing from the countertops, man. You've been looking a little sick from eating bad food and getting fucking lit from trying to get some rest with the points and hits. I bet you must regret not enjoy the shit, but I would do the same if I was you. If I couldn't even shit when I need to, could've given an address for them to reach through and had no resume because dope was preschool. I guess so fucked that my eyes would bleed. You probably find me curled up after my OD, left without a happy ending to my life story. Matter of fact, nothing left is how I would leave. Fuck man, this gotta be really rough. Your walls are a box with no rooftop. Your house is a cop from the local spot and can't stay in one place cause of fucking cops. You gotta shift around before they notice. I wanna give up just from feeling hopeless. Nah, guess I wouldn't face what I would cope with if I was in your shoes. I don't even know if I could ever know. I could ever tell what I would be doing. I don't know. I'll probably yell. I will probably lash out. Probably go to jail. I will probably start stealing shit to try and go and sell. I would wanna feel real. Try to feel great. Try to just forget every one of my mistakes. I would try to ask for James just to get a fucking break. Just to get a copy of food. For fuck's sakes, I'd want dry socks and a warm blanket. A fresh hot meal in the shower or take it. A couch or a bed would feel amazing. I don't know, man. Tell me about the troubles you're faced with. These days it be so hard when you're living with nothing, trying to just escape so that I could feel something. Wish I could go back to when I was just a kid. Never ever thought that this would be the way I live.
Your name's Mixed Emotions in Society.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that?
My brother actually came up with it. Like, I started writing raps when I was 12 years old, so been doing music now for 11 years, and
Right.
I started writing raps for about 6 or 8 months, and I never had a rap name or anything, and I came home and my brother had like wrote on a mirror everybody that was in our like little rap crew, everybody's names, and there's this one that just said Mixed Emotions in Society, and like, who the fuck is that? He's like, that's your name, and I just loved it, so yeah, I've stuck with it ever since.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So you shorten it to M.E.I.S?
Yeah, for sure, because, I mean,
Yeah,
whole name's a mouthful for sure, right? But, I mean, it felt suitable to me because I've always been, I don't know, either fucking into really hardcore music or, like, I'm kind of all over the place. I do a bunch of different genres and, like, have a lot of mixed feelings about a ton of shit going on in the world, right? So, I mean, kind of hit home and just fucking worked perfectly, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
So that's like having all these mixed feelings and everything that probably inspires writing songs like the Bars with Belverse.
Oh, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know, trying to give a different perspective or perception to things that are going on in this world, whether it's fucking homeless problems, drug addiction, religious views, political views, like all sorts of shit going on in society that's, I find it's difficult to be very black and white on. I'm definitely always lying somewhere in the middle with a lot of different situations, right? So
Right.
figured that worked well.
Right. Do you play any other instruments or anything? Well, I guess. Do you play any instruments?
Learning to play guitar, starting to make beats and try and learn piano and that sort of thing, but yeah, mainly just vocals for now and writing because that's obviously what I've been most comfortable with throughout the years, right? But
you want to start making your own beats and like playing your own piano and the beats and
oh,
stuff?
for sure. My own piano, write my own MIDI, do my own guitar. Naturally, I'm like really rhythmic when it comes to doing like drums.
actual drums are difficult for me because I mean, so many things going on at the same time is difficult. But I'm naturally very rhythmic, so
Right.
making beats on like a beat pad and shit just like comes to me like super easily, right? So I mean, that's one thing I'm definitely trying to learn a lot more.
Yeah, that's dope. Playing instruments is always super fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then having the diversity, right? Like doing live shows. If you can pull out a guitar and rock it on stage, or sit
Yeah.
down and do something mellow while playing piano, like then it gives you the opportunity to appeal to a bunch of different audiences and then present a bunch of different music that wouldn't necessarily just apply straight to the hip hop community, right? So that's one thing I'm definitely into. 'Cause lately, I've been writing a lot of blues and like alternative music and punk and that sort of thing, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like instruments is a lot more necessary in that in all those genres as opposed to hip hop. You just find a beat, get a tight DJ, and just start busting it out, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's dope to like explore all that other music. Are you recording like all that stuff at Legion, or do you record it at your house?
Yeah, basically go to Legion North for fucking all my recording right now. I'm starting to reach out to a couple different studios and start trying to work with a few other people just so I have like a diversity of different engineers and stuff because everybody's got a different sound, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Plus,
kind
it's
of
just good to network with people.
oh, for sure, right? Like the more people you reach out to and like build connections with, then that's a whole nother group of people that can get shows and get different opportunities, link you up with other artists,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, right? Which is super cool. I'm supposed to do a studio session with a couple people with Mike Irish and Vernon there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be dope.
Cause they put on a bunch of local shows and
Yeah, the well versed stuff.
oh yeah, and they're putting together a whole hip hop for healing project that's all about um, I don't know, building up a hip hop community throughout all of BC beyond just like the music scene, like how hip hop can be used as a tool to I don't know, promote mental well being or growth throughout the community or bring people together, all that sort of thing, right? Which is like I am in love with. That's one of the biggest reasons why I fell in love with hip hop was
Yeah.
like all the ideology behind it and the big sense of community that it brings, right? As well as individual progression, right? So I mean,
Right.
that's definitely a big part of it as well, right?
Right. So, what did inspire you, like for hip hop?
Um, I've been hip hop's always been my favorite genre as long as I can remember. Like I started listening to like a lot of West Coast hip hop and like I don't know, NWA, Ice Cube, and then start listening to a lot of like 50 Cent and G Unit and shit when I was like in kindergarten,
Yeah.
right? Fell in love with Eminem and Slim Shady, and then started listening to a lot of more old school stuff, got into like Big Daddy Kane and Rakim and like a lot of the really influential old artists, and then starting writing, like my brother and his friends started rapping, and I always did really, really well in poetry in school. So I felt that I should just give it a try, right? Because every time I did a poetry assignment in
Right.
elementary school, it came out as a rap verse.
Right.
And my teachers were always like, "This is a poetry project. Like this is not supposed to rhyme at all." I'm like, "All I know is hip hop." So
Yeah.
I just like kept writing rap verses. So then when they all started rapping, I was like, I'm just going to dive head first and
Yeah, dude.
started just writing tons of raps. And then it just became a means of expressing myself and getting all my thoughts out of my head and shit, whether I had problems going on in my life or was like dealing with anything, right? And just gave me content to like put down on paper because then it got it out of my head so it wasn't going crazy. And
Yeah.
then other people can relate to it, right? Which is another huge thing with writing music, right? Because if you can kind of put yourself out there and then other people can step into your shoes and they realize they're like, oh, someone else is kind of in this same situation, right? And then gives you the opportunity to help the community, right? And that was a big inspiration for me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is pretty sweet. It's sweet to like figure out that you like are good at something at that young of an age. Too,
Oh, for
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah, once I started writing raps, like I was, yeah, 11, 12 years old, and naturally I was just like really, really good at it. So it was a big confidence booster for me, and I
Yeah.
like went out of my way to do as much as I could. Like every party I went to, everyone I hung out with, I was always freestyling, always
That's
rapping.
When did you get into like the singing and stuff? Because your singing is dope. I like the singing.
That wasn't until I'd say probably 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because I like well, the past 2 years or so, I've taken like honestly a pretty big break from doing lots of music, just because life's been absolutely hectic, right? But I've been working a lot more on my singing capabilities. Like I have a full blues project that me and my buddy Shane made,
Yeah.
and that was kind of like my gateway into doing a lot more
Right.
singing stuff other than just like laying down cool hooks and that sort of thing, and got me a lot more comfortable with it, where now I can take all those skills and apply them back into my hip hop, and
Right.
it's like so cool some of the stuff I'm coming up with now, because it's like a whole different avenue that I never really
Yeah.
explored before, right? So
That is definitely
Yeah.
dope. That kind of reminds me of fucking Ice-T.
oh
He
yeah,
has, what is Body Count?
yeah.
And you can hear in that shit the like the rapping and everything is
Oh,
just like
yeah.
crossing over, you know what I mean? It definitely like influences each other.
Oh, for sure, right? And that's one thing that I never really thought of before when I was just writing raps. Is like I was like, I've got no interest singing,
Yeah.
right? And then once I started to play around with it, and then getting into other genres and started doing blues and punk and some rock songs, and played around with country a little bit, but I'm
Right.
like not a huge fan of country
Yeah.
music, right? So, but then learning different song structures and different approaches to writing music as a whole is cool, because then when you can come back and apply it to something that you're really comfortable with, it like just comes out naturally, and is really cool to give that contrast, right? Because before, if I needed any singing parts or anything, I'd outsource that, try and
Right.
find someone to bring in that I could pay to do a hook or something like that, right? Which now I don't really feel the need to do that anymore, because I've learned to kind of apply that to my music, right?
Being able to come with your own hooks is definitely like a key trait to have as a rapper.
Oh, for
I think,
sure,
like,
right?
hooks are super important.
When I was real young, I like absolutely fell in love with Nate Dogg's hooks. Like something about that voice and just like how smooth and buttery it was on
Yeah.
those beats. It's like,
I
Yeah,
can
that-
see the influence.
oh yeah, that
Yeah.
R&B like applied into hip hop is like super super cool to hear, right?
Right.
Sure.
How long you been rolling with Legion and like been friends with Shane and stuff?
God, probably now. Say probably 4 years, 5 years, something like that now. Yeah, like when I first found those guys, I was so stoked, because I mean, I was just recording everything at home. I didn't know nothing about engineering, producing, mixing, nothing, right? I'd find a beat on YouTube, drop it into FL Studios, hook up a microphone, click record,
Yeah.
and then the song was done. It was
Yeah.
like I never knew mixing was a thing or
Yeah.
anything like that, right? And then having the ability to be in a studio where it's like professional setup, people that actually know how to make music, and have it coming out sounding clean, was like an insane confidence booster for me, because like all my old music that I used to do myself, I never I liked it because it was like cool ideas and everything,
Yeah.
but
Sound quality.
listening to it
everything
was just like this is super cringy, right? Because it never actually sounded like a song, right? It was just us rapping over a beat, right? So I mean, it was really cool to get brought into a crowd of musicians who were really talented, and then all the people I got to meet within working with Legion and everything was super cool, because I mean, I was introduced to like countless artists who were just like insanely talented, right?
Right.
Which was awesome for sure. Yeah.
Do you do many live shows?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have done a lot of live shows throughout when I started making music. Like, I can't even count. I've probably done a few hundred for sure at this point. But yeah, getting on stage, getting in front of people, that's like definitely one of my favorite parts of making music, right? It's because there's just something, a crazy feeling when you're out there and everybody's just losing their minds.
Yeah.
You like kill the set or
Yeah.
something like that, and like the confidence boost is great too, because every time I'm about to get on stage, I feel like so nervous and worked up, and then get up there and just kill my set,
Yeah.
and then afterwards I'm just like, oh, feel on top of the world, right?
You have any shows like planned right now?
I think I have a couple in later in August.
Yeah.
And then mid-August, I think there's a couple that I'm looking at. I don't know any of the dates off the top of my head, but yeah, there's definitely going to be some more shows next month. My biggest thing with live shows right now is next year I'm actually planning to build up and sign like a small festival, hopefully
Yeah.
here in Armstrong, to just have like a ton of hip hop artists, R&B artists, and like just a big kind of music community to get together for a few days and rock like a crazy show, right? 'Cause, I mean, Metal Fest here in
Yeah.
Armstrong does like
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. So I think it would be
Definitely.
a wicked thing to pull off, right? So I mean, we got all the music connections to do it, and tons of talent here. So I mean, it would be a good time for sure.
Who are some of your like biggest inspirations for music?
Biggest inspirations for music. That's a tough one because I mean I'm all over the place when it comes to like genres and everything.
Yeah.
When it comes to hip hop, my biggest inspiration for hip hop as a whole would definitely be KRS-One, just because of the amount of education and knowledge he has on hip hop ideology, philosophy, and the history of it as a whole. And then when it comes to bars, I'd say like Big Daddy Kane, Rakim. I really like, I don't know, Token and Logic and who else? There's so many insane artists. Like I have such a mixed bag of music
Yeah.
that I like look up to. Post Malone when it comes to like newer stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
So who's like three people right now? I guess. Like forget about biggest influences, but if you're getting a new car right now,
if I'm
what's your like go-to track?
if I'm getting in a car right now, honestly, lately I've been listening to a lot of more rock because it's inspires me to kind of push out of my comfort zone and get into that music. Like I really like Paleo is someone I listen to all the time. Um, Sean James, he's another wicked artist who's more, I don't know, I'd say like kind of alternative bluesy, and probably probably like NF or Post Malone for sure. And oh, and MGK's new like punk stuff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love. It's got like crazy energy. Like I love his punk stuff more than any of his hip hop.
Right.
Like when he was doing rap, I didn't listen to MGK at all. And his
Right.
last two albums, I like bump constantly, right? 'Cause it's just
So,
you could tell he's in a way better genre now for sure. Like
yeah,
his
way more fitting.
for
It
sure.
does suit him way more. I seen him live one
100%.
time. He was like, it was just at a music festival,
Yeah.
and like you could tell he had like rock star energy, not like rapper energy.
Oh, for sure, right? And that's like awesome to see because I mean, it was funny when he was doing that whole beefing thing with Eminem
Yeah.
because it was like, oh, you got kicked out of rap. But I feel like that was just a genius marketing ploy because he's
Okay.
like, I'm better at punk. Let me
Yeah,
get
yeah,
out of this genre, right? And then everybody was looking at him. He's like, oh, here's a cool album that's like nothing I've ever done, right?
Yeah.
Which is sweet. I love MGK's new stuff. That's definitely in my top 3 right now as well, for sure.
So do you have an album out?
Not yet. Surprisingly, I've been doing music for 11 years now. Haven't dropped a single album yet. I've got like unreasonable amounts of songs I'm sitting on. I've just never like compiled them into a project yet. 'Cause I mean, it's like one of the problems with being a perfectionist is
Yeah.
I always want to make it better. But yeah, I feel soon I'm just gonna start dropping a bunch of songs because I mean, there's not doing any good just sitting on my computer, right? So I mean, I'm gonna put together a project. I mean, I got a ton of like older hip hop stuff that I've done that's all recorded, finished, ready to drop. So I'm gonna probably drop that, and then my whole blues project is completely finished, polished, and clean. So I'm gonna drop that as well. And I got a bunch of stuff that I'm in the middle of working on, which realistically could be finished up pretty soonly here. So then I'm getting close to having 3 full projects
Dope.
done and ready to go. Right?
Do you
So-
have stuff out there right now that people can check out?
I got a couple songs on Spotify that I'm featured on. I got a
Right.
bunch of stuff on YouTube that's older and production is garbage, but there's tons of features out there with me on it for sure, and a ton of my older stuff. But as far as like lots of material that I have under my name,
Right.
not a lot of anything new, right? I
Right.
mean, there's tons of old stuff out there, but I mean, everything I'm getting ready to drop soon is gonna be a big contrast to everything I did before, for sure.
It definitely seems to be like the play with everybody at Legion, like listening to Collateral's old stuff versus his newer stuff.
Oh,
and,
for
like,
sure.
Just everybody who's coming out of there.
And I hate feeling rushed to like. I didn't want to get ahead of myself, right, and drop a project and then being rushed to finish my next project
Right.
so that I can release that. I like to have a few things in the bag so I could drop something and then have like a scheduled time frame where I could drop my next thing while I'm working on the third or done the third, and have like a few releases kind of ready to go, right? Because then I'm not stressing out or forcing myself to like, I don't know, push myself into that creative state. Because I mean, the best music I make or anything is all when I'm just like doing it strictly on vibe, right? If I'm trying to like push myself to release things, then I know I'm just gonna rush it and it's not gonna have my natural like authenticity to it. You know what I mean? Which is like super important to me because music's got to come from the soul for it to be good. You know what I mean? And that's definitely one thing I've struggled with, is just not pushing myself to release things. But I'm getting to a point where I got enough ready that I'm just gonna start dropping song after song. So, I mean, got enough saved up, right?
Yeah.
So.
Are you gonna do shows and stuff for your blues stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking into doing. I mean, with that sort of thing, I'm looking more into doing private parties, doing wineries, fancy restaurants and shit like that. Because I mean, it's hard to do like go to a hip hop show and just rock out a bunch of blues, right? So I'm trying to get a band together to go do wineries and that sort of thing, which will be nice because that opens me up to a whole nother community of people that would never be down at a nightclub or out on a boat party doing hip hop shows, right? So I mean, that I'm really looking forward to, because I mean, having that whole other audience who some of those people might listen to hip hop and might enjoy it, but won't ever go out of their way to go into a nightclub filled with 20-year-olds partying, right? So I'm really looking forward to that. My background in hip hop is like, I don't know, I fell in love with it at a very young age, and one of the biggest motivators for me to like start meeting lots of people who rapped and everything was graffiti.
Right.
Because like I met a whole, before we all started rapping, like I started doing graffiti with a ton of my friends who we all started kind of rapping around the same time, and graffiti was another like huge part of the culture for me, getting out there and getting my name up and like creating another identity for myself and that sort of thing. Just like learning how to do dope art that stood out and popped, right, was really inspiring for me to kind of create an identity for myself as an as like a musician,
right?
Because I already created an identity for myself as a street artist, right? Which was really cool to kind of get into and explore, because I mean, I don't know, graffiti's an interesting game, right? There's lots of stuff to learn. It seems really simple looking at it, but
it's fucking hard.
Definitely very tricky, right? And then like the whole culture behind it, like everywhere you go, and just the whole idea of like kind of keeping who you are unknown, but getting up as many places as you can, so that all the other people within the graffiti community are like, oh, who did that? That's crazy as hell. Like, and that was like a really cool thing for me to get into, and like something I find is lost in the hip hop culture nowadays, because I mean, tons of people rap, not a lot of people do graffiti, right? And tried to get into breakdancing and shit for a bit, but my body is way too broken for that. That shit's hard. Breakdancers I give like so much respect to, because you're just like busting a move on concrete, doing like belly flops and backflips and landing flat on your back, and like that shit's nuts, right?
That's dope that you like actually studied and basically practice like all 5 elements of hip hop.
Oh, for sure, right?
Most people I feel like these days don't even know like that there's like 5 elements to it. It's more than just
DJing, rapping, graffiti writing, breakdancing, beatboxing, street entrepreneurship, fucking, and the ideology. Like that was the biggest thing that pushed me to fall in love with hip hop, was the fact that it was all about like peace, love, unity, safely having fun. Everybody
And I feel
get
like it's
along.
always motivating too.
Oh, 100%, right? Because every person is trying to go out and become the best version of themselves and push themselves to another level. And there's that friendly competition with everybody around you where it's like, I want to one up you,
Yeah.
but at the same time, keep doing you and
Yeah,
killing
yeah.
it because that shit's fucking dope, right? And that's like one of the things I loved about hip hop so much because our society nowadays is just so like everybody's shitting on everybody, like tearing each other down where I mean, everybody thrives. If everybody's always pushing each other up and trying to have that friendly competition that pushes you to be better and you're pushing other people to be better, then, like, that's where it's at, right? Because that's how you have a whole community of people just absolutely killing it and everybody's just getting better at whatever it is they're doing, right? Which is super tight. Like, that was my favorite thing about hip hop for sure, right? And then, like, the whole unity, like peace, love, unity, everybody just being a strong community together, and then safely having fun is another huge one because you can go out, you can do a rap show, you can go paint, you could fucking break dance, beatbox, DJ, whatever it is you're doing, and you could have an absolute blast, and no one's fucking shooting each other, they're not dying, like fucking you know what I mean? And it was a good avenue for me because a lot of my friends, when I started getting into hip hop, a lot of my friends were getting into fucking selling drugs and gang banging and all doing crazy, crazy shit, right? And then all my friends started getting hooked on drugs or going in jail or dropping dead. And then that's when I really dug into just like following my passion, whether it was writing raps or doing graffiti, because I didn't want to end up dead like fucking half my homies were, right? So it's like that was a huge thing for me, that safely having fun, going out and enjoying yourself without like having that major risk to your life literally or throwing your life away to drugs and being locked up in jail, right? And that was huge for sure. Yeah. It's one thing I find gets often like way overlooked with nowadays. People think hip hop and they just think rap music, right?
Yeah.
People and the commercial aspects of hip hop now are screwed. Everybody just talking about like trap music, like shooting people, selling drugs, fucking partying till like I've done all that shit, and it's like it may seem like fun, but your life just fucking spirals down the drain, right? And I mean,
and time moves fast, dude.
oh,
You
for
reach
sure,
the point
right?
of no return very quick.
Very, very quick, right? And to see a lot of people like idolizing that for commercial success, like, is so painful to see because, I mean, then you got all these 10, 12-year-old kids listening to all these guys, like, idolizing, going to jail, shooting people, selling drugs and everything, and then they want to grow up to be like them, and then all of a sudden they're sitting in a jail cell with fucking 25 years left in their sentence, and they're like, what the fuck have I done, right? And then they regret all these things where if the music had a positive influence and those people were brought up to like admire things that had positive potential, then they could have fun, enjoy themselves, have a fucking great life, and turn it into something positive, right? And that's like fucking so important to me. Like, a lot of commercial music really hurts me to listen to now because it's like, yeah, it may be a dope club banger and it might that beat might be fire and the vocals might sound good on top of that beat, but like lyrical content and what you're pushing out to the community is so important, right? Because you never know who might be listening to it, right? Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Yeah, my biggest goal is like throughout, whether it's tied to my music or throughout my entire lifetime, are to start like a Canadian school of hip hop based around just taking every individual as an individual student and growing them with whatever is their strongest suit, kind of like, which is kind of what hip hop's all about, right? Doesn't matter if you're an MC or if you're a beatboxer, or if you're a DJ, you do that thing that you love to do and you're good at and push yourself to make that become your biggest success in life, right? And I want to start a whole school that's kind of based around that mentality. Some kid comes in grade 8 and he's like, I want to make art, right? Teach him how to be a digital artist or teach him how to create a career out of his art, or whether it's someone wants to do promotion or fashion or fucking design buildings or do like basically anything, right? Because where school failed me is like there were so many things that I was really, really good at that could have become a profitable career. Where like do social studies, and it's like I don't give a shit about Christopher Columbus,
Yeah.
right? And then I dropped out in grade 10. I started working full time, and like my life would be very different if someone would have saw my strengths and then pushed it to something positive, right? Instead of just saying like, oh, just forget about that,
Definitely.
do your fucking
Dude,
work,
I was
right?
watching the latest like Dave Chappelle release on Netflix,
Yeah,
and it's like some I can't remember the exact details, but something to do with like something going on at the school that he went to, and it was like an arts school,
yeah,
and he goes there, and they like just love him basically, know he's gonna be a success, gets to go to the school, but like that's the thing is he then gets pushed the whole time, and he's at like a school that promotes the arts, and then it's like look what can happen.
yeah,
That guy's known as the GOAT now, and
yeah.
like everyone else has to try and achieve the same thing and live up to those expectations while going to like a regular school who doesn't promote the arts side
Oh
of
yeah,
anything.
it's absolutely crazy, right? Like I don't know, so many of my friends too that ended up going down the wrong path. Like some of my friends that went down the path of like selling dope and shit, like they could do the most complex math equations in their head
Yeah.
instantly, hence why they were good at selling dope.
Yeah.
And if they were like given an opportunity to pursue business when they're in like grade 8 or 9,
Yeah.
they would have been like, oh, I'm in love with making money.
Yeah.
I can do all sorts of complex, crazy business shit. And they weren't given that opportunity, so they found another place where they could push themselves and excel in that career choice, even though it was a negative place to pursue it. That's where they went to because school wasn't providing that, right? And if I could like give kids the opportunity to succeed in a positive way as opposed to just forcing something that might not be beneficial to them down their throats and then them just saying fuck this and walking away and doing some hood rat shit or like getting bored or starting doing drugs or going down the wrong path or whatever it may be, right? Like I don't know, the school system nowadays fails a lot of people who have enormous amounts of potential, but just doesn't give them the opportunity to flourish. Yeah, biggest goal in life for sure. It's like my retirement plan.
Right. Yeah, that'd be dope to have that, especially here in BC.
Oh,
Because I
for
feel
sure.
like the hip hop scene is so much bigger than people realize. Like,
Oh, it's enormous.
we're in such a country area.
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
I think, yeah, they forget.
Yeah, I mean, typically hip hop resides in like really urban areas and shit. I mean, a lot of like even Armstrong, we're in like this tiny little farming town, right? And there's insane amounts of talent here when it comes to hip hop and music and everything. But yeah, I mean, one hard part about that is with how much talent there is, there's not very many venues and there's not many places where people can kind of get that out there.
Definitely.
So I feel like the more hip hop community builds and tries to create those opportunities, those venues, those connections, we could do very well for BC as a whole, right? Because there's just tons of talent here that just doesn't know what to do with it, right?
So where can these guys find you? Just on Instagram and
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. We'll be putting out a bunch of new stuff soon, and
all those accounts are just at Mixed Emotions in Society.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, mix.emotions.in.society, I think. We're all one word. I don't know what my TikTok is. I think they're both the same. I'm pretty sure I got them all linked together and that sort of thing. So I mean, Mixed Emotions in Society, you should be able to find me pretty quickly. And yeah, I'll be dropping a bunch of new stuff soon. Throwing some stuff up on Spotify so people can hear me there. And yeah.
We'll make sure to put all the links in the description below too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that wraps up this episode. Stay tuned 2 weeks from now for the next one.
Boswell Bell.